All right, today we are going to introduce gerunds. So gerunds are a new type of verbal. And so we should start this lesson by go back and review your verbal song. Remember, those are on the website, or you can just sing it out of the back of the book if you know it. I believe I gave you all of the songs. So in there, you will see that gerunds are one kind of verbal that behave like a noun, and they always end with the letters ing. So much like a participle, we have a form of a verb that is acting as a different part of speech. So let's look at an example of this in the poem, The Thinker. This is by Burton Braley. Back of the motors humming, back of the belts that sing, back of the hammers drumming, back of the cranes that swing. There is the eye which scans them, watching through stress and strain. There is the mind which plans them, back of the brawn, the brain. So in here we have the two lines, back of the motors humming and back of the hammers drumming. In the sentence, you'll notice that humming and drumming are both objects of prepositions, of the motors humming and of the hammers drumming. And so as objects of prepositions, they are functioning as nouns. Now, you obviously know that hum and drum are verbs. So these forms of verbs are acting as nouns, and we see that here in our sentence we'll analyze in a minute with humming, the sound of any humming, right? Again, it's the object of a preposition. We'll get to that in a minute. But the humming and the drumming act as nouns. So this shouldn't be too much different than the participles. Now participles and gerunds can both end in ing. So how are we going to tell them apart? We will tell them apart by their function, how they are acting. Participles act as adjectives and gerunds act as nouns. So if it's acting as a noun, ends in ing, it's a gerund. If it's acting as an adjective, it's a participle. So that's good. Let's just analyze and diagram this. All right, so we start with the order of analysis is phrases, clauses, principal elements, and modifiers. And are there any prepositional phrases? There are, like we said, of any humming. Okay, of is the preposition, humming is the object of the preposition. Any tells what kind of humming, so it's an adjectival element, modifies a noun, it's an adjective. Okay, and we also have before the sound, right? Before is a preposition, sound is the object of the preposition, the is an adjective. All right, so innovative thinking happens before the sound of any humming. Thinking is our subject, because it is what the sentence is about. The sentence tells us that thinking happens. So happens is our predicate, because it is what the sentence tells us about thinking. Happens is a predicate verb because it shows action, and there are no linking verbs because predicate verbs do not need linking verbs. Now before we move on, notice again, thinking right here comes from the verb think. We added an ing and it's functioning as the subject, so it's a noun. Right? It's functioning as a noun. This is a gerund. So is humming over here, object of the preposition. It's functioning as a noun. From hum, you have another gerund there. So, of any humming tells us what kind of sound. So it is an adjectival element because it modifies a noun. It's an adjectival prepositional phrase. And before the sound tells us when thinking happens. So it is an adverbial element because it modifies the verb happens, an adverbial prepositional phrase. Innovative tells us what kind of thinking. So it's an adjectival element because it modifies noun. It's an adjective. There we go. I think that's our analyzation. Oh, I forgot one thing. Both thinking is a gerund, and we're going to give it a little heart because a verb is the heart of all verbals. So there you go. Now, diagramming. This is going to be a little different. Remember, when we had, do one down here, a participle as a subject, we do our little stand here and then have the swoopy line come down like so, right? So this is a participle, goes like this. Gerund is similar, but not the same. He has a jagged line like this, okay? And he's going to be falling down this line, thinking like so, okay? And then we have to take our modifier and bring it off of thinking, so innovative verb phrase happens. And we have some modifiers down here. Before sound. What kind of sound of the sound? What kind of sound of? And then here again, we have to make our little stand and make our jagged line come across here of humming. And then Annie modifies humming. Okay, so that's how we diagram that, right? With the stand and the stepped line there. I keep calling it jagged, maybe we call it stepped, right? Little stepped line that will show us that this is a gerund and not just a noun. All right, so that should be good enough explanation for those. I don't think we have anything else new in here. So work on lesson to learn A, and if you have any questions, let me know.